And Friends comes away with a rebound and a chance to take the lead. 33-32, Emerlehu going for the lead from the left wing. Emerlehu with the triple on the move, ready to run her from 8 feet. No, Jackson snares down the miss and then puts it home for the right side. Jackson in double figures for Friends. Trey Reed looking inside, off to Emerlehu, turns down to 3, kicks it left wing to Trey Reed. He drives in the lane, now to the rim, scoops it up and in, and he got fouled. 7. Tabor ahead with 1:40 to go in overtime. Here's Garner, strong move to the cup on Zoe Rust. She throws it up and makes it, and she gets fouled for one more. Friends ahead, Barberry goes up, and he flushes it down. Barberry taking flight and getting a body in the process. What's going on, everyone? Voice of the Friends Falcons, Pat Strathman, here with our very first edition of the Friends Basketball Show on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM. We are also recording from Walk-On Sports Bistreaux game day atmosphere with a bunch of TVs on the wall and also game day food with that southern twist. I like mine with a little bit of kick anyway, so this place is perfect. Lots of walls, college football, college basketball, all that sorts of stuff. You want to come watch it and have that game day atmosphere, you can do it right here at Walk-On's Sports Bistreaux. Well, with a Friends Basketball Show, we'll kind of do an alternating type of thing here to where 1 week you'll be the men's basketball coach and Phil McClintock, who's here with us tonight. Next week will be Friends women's basketball coach Dean Jaderston, and we'll just continue to switch on and off as far as we can possibly go. For Friends men's basketball, the Falcons already have a game under their belt. They opened the season on the road in Missouri, falling to Central Methodist 88-73. Coming up this week on Thursday, the home opener against Calvary Baptist, 7:30 tip-off. You can come and catch it at the Garvey Center. And then on Saturday, a trip to Oklahoma City on November 11th. And then a trip to Wichita State University. And then conference play begins November 15th at Kansas Wesleyan University. That's when the real fun truly begins. Coach Phil McClintock joins me here today. Coach, welcome. Congratulations. He is the new head men's basketball coach at Friends University. Was announced last year after the season. For those that don't know his background, he's definitely a familiar face in this conference. He was a part of Ottawa University for what feels like decades to me, because I feel like I've been in this conference for decades now. But you were up there as the associate head coach for quite some time with Aaron Siebenthal. You were a player back in the day, so you know the KCAC and how much it's improved over the years. Sure. Let's just talk about the transition to Wichita. How has everything gone in terms of you getting settled in the city of Wichita, Friends University?
It's been great. You know, a lot of people ask me. It feels like I've been here for a lot longer. I think April 11th was my first day, and I mean, I was familiar with a lot of the coaches, you know, through golf, through, you know, basketball with Coach Jaderson. We had some good battles back in the day when I was a player. Same with Coach Faber. You know, playing against Coach Faber and coaching against him, and so it feels like it's a lot more of a natural transition, I feel like, than what it would be somewhere else, you know. And everybody's been great, supportive, and you know, they want us to have success here, and so it's been really, really good.
You and Fabe go back that far, huh? Man.
Yeah, he beat me my junior year. It was actually back when the school still hosted the conference tournament championships. And so at Ottawa, we were the 1 seed, and they were the – maybe they were the 2. Yeah, I think they were the 2. But anyway, they beat us on a buzzer beater. We were both going to go to the Nationals anyway. And so they beat us at home on a buzzer beater, and it was one of the loudest places that has ever been up at Ottawa, and they beat us. So we talk about that all the time. Justin Roan hit a contested fadeaway from the free throw line.
You'll never forget it.
Nope. So yeah. So anyway, yeah, we had some good battles, and same with Dean. So Coach Jaderson on the women's side. So when he was at Sterling, so they were good. They had it rolling then too when I was playing. So
yeah.
yep.
Well, I know that you guys. I mean, you're not the same sports, women's basketball, men's basketball. But I'm sure you and Dean Jaderson probably talk quite a bit. Would be my guess.
We do, yeah. Offices right next to each other. We can hear through the wall. So really, anytime there's any talking going on in either office. So fun fact though. So my junior year, me and Coach, obviously, Faber went to national tournament.
Mm-hmm.
My senior year, it was us and Sterling with Coach Jaderson. So my junior and senior year, we went to the national tournament, obviously different teams, but to represent the KCAC. So
That's
isn't that kind of funny?
Man.
Yeah, I know.
What a small world.
It is, I know, exactly. So it's, I mean, I think that adds to just the comfort level of coming to Friends and obviously coaching, coaching at Friends, playing at Friends, obviously, on Ottawa side. But, I mean, it's been pretty comfortable. So.
Well, we'll talk about the players and who you have available this year for 2023, 2024. When you are a head coach and you're coming into a new situation, how much do you go back to the previous year to get a feel of things? Obviously, you scouted against Friends University last year, a team that had won just 5 total games a season ago, but a young group, a good chunk of that coming back this year, so I'm sure you probably took that into consideration. But how much do you go back and try to review the year before to try to get a better understanding of what has been ran, what has worked, what hasn't worked? How much do you go and do when it comes to going back and looking at the previous year as an incoming head coach?
I think that I didn't do it much. I think maybe if I were going into a different conference or a different situation where obviously we played against them twice and I knew the guys, and there were a lot of guys who had been there for multiple years. You got Tim, you got Trey Reed, you got those guys that Drew Patterson's who I've coached against for a while. So I kind of knew, you knew them and their stuff. And from the last couple of years, my system offensively and defensively is pretty different. So to me, that doesn't really matter as much as implementing what I want to do. Now, I think having an idea of what they're used to is good. And so, but I feel like it was pretty comfortable with me, just having coached against them. So, and them being in the conference. So,
with you coming in, what are you trying to do in terms of implementing a system? What's really the focus for your vision here in season number 1? This is kind of the year where it's interesting when you look at coaches. Year 1 is kind of you're setting the foundation.
Yep.
And year number 2, it settles a little bit, but there's still some shortcomings. Year number 3, it's all right. It's time. Now it's on. Here we go. This is kind of the system. So when you take a look at year number 1, what are you trying to implement in terms of the brand of basketball that you want to be played?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty different from what they've been used to the last couple of years. I mean, I'm more of a defensive-minded coach. So, I mean, defense, toughness, those things are really important to me, and I'm more probably more freedom than they've had the last couple of years at least on offense. As long as you're moving the ball, taking good shots, playing for each other, I'm fine with you shooting early and trying to play fast. But, I mean, in the half court, we're going to move the ball side to side and try to find 2 or 3 sides, be a little bit more patient probably. But me, it's just building the foundations. Hey, this is how we do things on defense. This is the toughness piece, and getting them just used to, playing basketball the way that I want it to be played. And it's taken time. I mean, I watched, our game on last Thursday, and, I mean, we have a lot to learn. So, which is, to be expected. There's nobody that stepped in and just, I mean, it's perfect in year 1. So, I mean, maybe there is, but it wasn't from us. So, we got work to do, which is what I expect and what, why we're here. So,
yeah. Well, you bring that up. I know there's no Jerome Tang situation where you just kind of step in and all of a sudden you go into the Elite Eight and here we go. And now it's year number 2 under Jerome Tang for Kansas State. But people want to point to that, be like, see, it can be done, but it's way harder than what people realize, and especially in a conference as tough as the KCAC. But you've been part of some great teams. You bring up how loud it was back in the day when you took on Fabe. I don't know, I'd argue Ottawa and McPherson a couple years ago in your KCAC championship season. I'll never forget that night because that was just a whale of a game, well played, and it was rocking inside that place. So I'm thinking back to those moments. Like, I don't know, Coach. I think I'll argue a little bit about that. But you've kind of seen the success in the KCAC. You've seen how teams are getting it done. So you don't obviously look at something and go, I want to make a clear a carbon copy of what that team did. But with you being involved in this conference for so long, the comfortability level certainly has to help.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's I think playing in the conference, it's definitely a different league than what it was, and the first step was I think Oklahoma Wesleyan stepping in the league, and their program and the success they've had, national championships. You don't have basketball national championships. You have a couple runners up, but I mean, there's not any natty championships and people competing, top 10 teams. At least there hasn't been for a long time in our league, and so they stepped in and had number one team in the nation. They were making some Elite Eights, and so I think that kind of upped the ante for everybody, which is awesome. Now you have the Yorks, you have Evangel stepping in, Avila, all these new teams, and it's just getting better and better. And I think basketball in this conference is it's so good, especially on the men's side. You have 4 teams ranked, 3 to 4 teams ranked every year.
Yeah,
4 teams making the national championship, and then you add Evangel, so you had 5. That return a lot, from last year that went to the national, tournament. So it's great and it's exciting, and it's we're not there yet, but that's definitely our goal to get there. And so we have some work to do, but just the talent level that you have to have, and the way people are playing now, it's at a super super high level, which is exciting.
Well, before we dive into the actual team, one question about the schedule. Everyone's excited about it. Everyone's talking about it. You get a chance to play Wichita State University. And I believe I saw in the press release it's the first time in 50 years. Is that what I saw?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was was it the 50s or something? Did you remember the date?
That's insane. No, I don't. I don't remember the date.
I can't either, but it's over 50. I mean, I think it's either the 50s or 60s.
That's insane, though. But how awesome is that to get the opportunity to play a Division I school that is in the same town as you? I think that's just such a unique opportunity for Friends University.
Yeah, it's crazy, and so it's going to be really cool. I know our guys are going to like it. I know there's a lot of buzz. I mean, I've been asked more about the Wichita State game than obviously any other game, including how my game went. Hey, how'd your game go last week? No, hey, when's Wichita State again? Is that? I'm like, okay, yeah, it's on the 12th, 1 o'clock. So, but it's cool. It's really cool for the city. That's something I've played in. Big games. We played against Kentucky. The UMKCs and the D1 games, D2 games, but never anything that's in the same town. And that's, there's been such a big gap of when you've played. So it's also pretty unique that it's a regular season game for them, an exhibition for us. But, I mean, they're going to be amped and ready to roll and want that win. So it'll be exciting for our guys to be able to battle. So.
Can't wait. Should be great. Friends, men's basketball coach Phil McClintock here on the Friends Basketball Show on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM. Coming up on Thursday, a game against Calvary Baptist. We will talk to Coach about that here in just a little bit. But before then, Coach, let's talk about your team just in general. I referenced earlier you had such young talent, and a lot of that young talent is back for 2023, 2024. I'll do my best to try to break down as many as I possibly can. One that I really want to start off with, though, is Drew Patterson, who as a freshman – that kid went up to Salina and made a name for himself by pouring in a boatload of buckets against a very tough defense. And then last year runs into a little bit of a health problem and just never could be out there for a full season. When you have that type of season, it can be so frustrating, but it can lead to motivation and getting into the gym. And he's already a guy who wants to get in the gym and shoot anyways. Sure. I think we know that about Drew. He was able to play and he was able to play against Central Methodist last week, and he had 24 minutes, which is great because I think the year before, maybe the most that he might have played was maybe 15 minutes, probably roughly around there. So let's start with Drew Patterson and just your initial thoughts on Drew Patterson.
Yeah, I love him. And there was a game, it's been a few years ago, I think probably his freshman year when he came up to Ottawa. And I remember he was making shots and kind of lit us up. I think we still won, but it was really close. And maybe he was on the scout. I don't even know if he was on the scout. He's one of those guys that I just didn't know. But I've seen him play well, against us. And then last year, obviously, he didn't have a ton of success, or not just because he was hurt all the time and on minute, limits and restrictions. And so, but I knew Drew, he could shoot and he can handle the ball, but he's been a great teammate. Was selected a captain this year by his teammates, obviously, which says a lot about him as a person. But he can really shoot it, but he's a great defender. And so that's one thing that I didn't, I guess, know stepping into it. Hey, you got this, you got a 3-and-D guy right here. And I mean, we got to get him more shots just because he's that level of shooter. But all of our guys know, hey, if Drew's ever open, we're going to try to find him because he's just such a great kid, but a really good player too. So,
well, a guy last year, he came back for a super senior season. I'm glad that he did. A former Abilene Cowboy, Tim Barberry, who is a part of the squad last year. Just watching him grow last year, I think we all thought that there was a chance for him to be a pretty good player. And then you watch him develop, and here he is almost averaging a double-double and doing it kind of as an undersized 5 in this game of basketball. No, last week against Central Methodist, he finished with 10 points for you on 4 of 6 shooting, three rebounds for him as well. Anytime you can bring a guy back with, 4 years of college basketball experience, 5 years of college basketball experience, that has to help as a new head coach.
Yeah, it does. On both ends, too. He's a good defender, good rebounder, good scorer. We got to find a way to get him more shots, and I knew it was like that last year, too. I mean, I think he shot 60% from the field, led the league last year, or was up there in the league. And I'm like, and our guys do throw it to him, but, I mean, sometimes he needs to be more aggressive, too. I'm working on lighting a fire under Tim a little bit on, hey, man, he's a good player. He really is. But, man, if you were played with a little more aggression and shot it more and were more selfish, you could really do some things. So that's kind of my thing with Tim is on him and Al too, both of our bigs. Like, if you're shooting that high a percentage, man, you got to yell at these guards to get you the ball. You got to go get it in, different ways. And so, but he's a good player, and we're really lucky to have him. So we're excited about him.
Well, speaking of Al Emerlahu, last year the confidence was oozing through this kid as a freshman. That was the one thing, going back and watching, I'm like, how many times I say confidence with this kid? Because there's just a lot of confidence. He played at Sunrise Christian Academy. He played under a coach in Luke Barnes, who is no longer at Sunrise Christian Academy, now is a Division I assistant coach out at Texas Tech under Grant McCaslin. If you can play for Coach Barnes, you could probably play some basketball in that system at Sunrise Christian Academy. Might not be the big names like a Grady Dick or some of those other guys, but Al Emerlahu, I came away super impressed in his freshman season.
Yeah, he's got a ton of skill, and he's a willing passer. In our stuff, we run some 5-out stuff, and I love the way he can spread the floor. He actually, we ran some stuff for him last week, and he missed 3 open shots that he usually wouldn't, and so I'm excited about his ability to stretch the floor. But he has a ton of skill. He has a really high ceiling, and so he's similar to Tim, where I'm trying to light a little bit more of a fire, or he gets a little mean, just a little mean every once in a while. So that's hey, if you get a foul, a hard foul or something, I won't yell at you. Let's just put it that way. So and I tell Al that all the time. So I'm not talking behind his back, but his skill is going to help us a ton, and he's a plus rebounder too, on both ends.
Coach,
so we love him.
Coach wants to play angry, is what I'm hearing.
A little bit.
That's what it sounds like. A little
bit.
Well,
So.
two guys that can play angry, 2 guys that go to the rim really well. I want to kind of group them together. Keon Hutton last year didn't get a chance to play second semester. Now he's back, and you're trying to get him back into the swing of things. I'm sure that in itself was a challenge for Keon. But you saw the raw talent that was there, and before he was ineligible for the second semester, you saw what he did in the first semester, and I don't know how many games he was a part of as wins, but he was part of more wins than losses. I do know that because he has the capability of being a great slasher. And another slasher is Christian Williams, who was 4 of 5 from the field against Central Methodist, 9.6 rebounds. Christian's got that capability of getting to the rim whenever he wants. And when you talk about playing angry, I'm sure you're probably like, Christian, let's drive a little bit more. Let's try to do this type of thing. Those 2 guys were just young pups, though. To go along with Al, you have Christian and Keon, both freshmen a year ago. Mm-hmm. Here they are in their sophomore campaigns. Your thoughts on those 2 guys?
Yeah, I love them. Keon's starting for us, and I love having Christian come off the bench. He's an elite level scorer, and he really is. And it's a 3-level thing too. He made some super tough shots at Central Methodist, but he went on a run late, and he can do that. We need to get him the ball more too. Keon, I love him. He's an all-around player, both ends. I think he's a guy that can, really score at the rim. He can shoot it too, but he's a guy that can go get you no board. He can be a lockdown defender. So he's definitely versatile too. We need him. Both of those guys just need to keep growing. It was Keon. I think he went 1 of 6 against Central Methodist. Took good shots. He just looked like he hadn't played a game in a year, which he hasn't, and in a new system. So these guys, once they get comfortable, though, I mean, both of them are really good players who will be hard to keep off the floor. So,
in terms of newcomers, the one that a lot of people are going to recognize, if anyone has followed the KCAC, Steele Chapman. He was the KCAC Freshman of the Year at Southwestern. Ultimately decided to walk on at Wichita State. Now here he is as a Friends University Falcon. Seeing him as a freshman. Freshmen aren't supposed to be – normally you could be quick, but you're not supposed to be that quick. You're not supposed to be able to have that first quick step already figured out. Still has that. And to have that type of point guard in the system, how big of a deal is it to have Steele Chapman a part of this team?
It's a big deal. I mean, he's a guy. We played him 28 minutes. He needs to play more. I mean, he's a guy. So I was talking to my assistants. I'm like, can he play 35 minutes? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, just making sure because he's going to be. He just needs to be in the game both ends. He's a really good defender. He could have rebounded it better, but I mean, when he wants to, he'll go after a ball. But he can score at all 3 levels. But he's a really good passer too. He only had 1 assist, which that might be the only game of the year when he only has 1. I mean, he's that good of a passer, and he can really get anywhere he wants with the ball. And that's something that I think that they probably lacked a little bit last year. And he's just a guy that we're going to go to a lot and rely on because he's such a good player on both ends. He's also was voted a team captain. And so as a sophomore is a pretty big deal. So
without question. A couple more to go through with Phil McClintock, the men's basketball coach at Friends University here on the Friends Basketball Show on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM. Some more newcomers. KJ Spiller scored 11 points, grabbed 6 rebounds against Central Methodist. Based on what I saw in the first half before I had to shut things down, I'm like, that guy's going to the rim a lot. Like, in addition to Christian and Keon, I'm looking at KJ going, how tall is that kid? I look, I'm like, oh, he's a 6'5" wing from Metropolitan Community College,
yep.
A KC, Missouri kid.
Yep.
So your thoughts on KJ and what he can bring to the table?
Yeah, he's starting to figure it out. Usually transfers, it takes him, sometimes a year, but it definitely takes him some time to figure it out. And he was not good for a while, and we're like, okay, when's he going to – well, the last 2 weeks he's really just figured it out, and he's like, Coach, I don't know when to shoot. I don't know what to do. And so during that game he knew. So he 11-6. I think – once he figures it out more, his minutes might go up and those averages might go up a little bit more too. But he's going to be a guy that we can really get the ball to, and he can make plays for others too. But he's a really good rebounder. He's a really good defender, and he can definitely get to the rim. And so we're excited about him. And he had, that was a great first game. And so he has that toughness that I think they lacked last year, and we lack sometimes a little bit. And I think he has that. So.
Well, last year, this guy played at Missouri Valley College, and he did quite a lot at Missouri Valley. I was looking at Colin Macklin's stats because you always wonder when you have a guy transferring from one conference to another conference, how will that translate? Things will be a little bit different, but I went and looked at his stats. I was all right, how much did he play last year? I'm like, he played in 28 games, and he averaged this, he averaged that. And I'm thinking – that's probably a pretty good addition for the Friends Falcons.
Yep, yeah, and he probably did. Out of all of our transfers, him and Duran both struggled a little bit, but we have really high hopes for Colin. He averaged 11 points a game in conference play in the Heart last year as a freshman, shooting good percentages. So the kid can play, super way above the rim, super athletic, and we like him a lot. He can shoot as well, and so we're trying to figure out exactly where to play him because at one point he was the one and. We're playing him off the ball some too and playing him in the backup role for Steele. So we're just, once he finds a fit, he just has too much talent. So.
Well, you brought up Duran McDaniel from Notre Dame College. You brought up maybe not the most impressive debut, but still a transfer that you went out and saw after and found a new home here in Wichita.
Yeah, he's an elite shooter, and he's in the gym all the time. He lives in the gym, and he's going to get it going, and we really need, I think, him from a shooting aspect. So he needs to play. And we have enough shooting, but, I think having him as a guy that's on the court, we can keep, 3 shooters on the court at all times. And, he can do things off the bounce too. So, him and Colin both are just trying to get comfortable in the system. And so once that clicks, that's gonna be great. So.
All right, Coach. Well, I mean, you already kind of added some thoughts on Central Methodist, but other than the fact that, hey, we went up there and pretty much exactly what happened, exactly what I kind of expected to happen, and that is we got a long ways to go.
Yeah, we were encouraged. I mean, it was one of those that, we have another transfer, C.J. Powell, who is an athletic 6'7" man, 4'5", 3'4", whatever, but he has that toughness and athleticism, and we were without him. Hopefully we'll have him Thursday. They just basically they had more returners. They looked more comfortable, and for us, I think it was the 10-minute mark. There was a media timeout in the Heart. They came out and scored a bucket and went up 16, and from that moment, we won the game by 1 point. And just trying to get our guys to realize that. I mean, did we expect to roll it out there and just to dominate? I don't know. They were picked fourth in the Heart, with multiple returners that were all conference kids. They were a good team, and I'm like, watching the film, I watched it right after, but, I was cutting it today. I'm like, dude, we had a lot of good things that we got. Great looks offensively. A lot of weird things happened, dribbled the ball off your foot. We 4 or 5 times just turnover at the wrong time led to a wide open shot. So I was pretty encouraged by it being the first time. You never accept a loss, but it was one of those that our guys played hard, stuck with it the whole time. We're into it after the game and together, and so I'm like, hey, it's one of those where I'm probably not going to yell at them in film, and I don't think that'll help. We're going to watch it to get better, but I'm encouraged, and so hopefully we can just keep making steps forward. And we play at home, and the lid was on the basket. We missed so many executed and missed a shot, and executed and missed. So hopefully, coming home, we can get a little confidence going that way too. So
for sure. Well, I'm looking forward to it on Thursday and for the rest of the season. Coach, thank you so much for the time.
Yep, thanks.
Phil McClintock, head men's basketball coach at Friends University, here on the Friends Basketball Show on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM. Friends falling to Central Methodist 88-73 on Thursday last week. Up next, a Thursday game against Calvary Baptist coming up on Thursday at the Garvey Center. Hope to see you there. The first conference game for Friends University is up in Salina on Wednesday, November 15th. The first conference game at home inside the Garvey Center will be on Saturday, November 18th inside the Garvey Center. Looking forward to seeing what happens this year under new head men's basketball coach Phil McClintock. Well, that does it for us today. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We're here at Walk On Sports Bistreaux. We'll be here every single week. We typically record at 5 o'clock, but the next couple of weeks here is going to be a little bit different because Terry Harrison and the head football coach at Friends University, it's one of those things where we typically record at 5, so therefore usually follows at 5:30, so it'll be a little bit different the next couple of weeks. But please come out to Walk On Sports Bistreaux. They are big-time supporters of Friends University Athletics, and you should be a big-time supporter of Walk On Sports Bistreaux because they do so many wonderful things, great TVs, great food. Come out and catch the game day feel at Walk On Sports Bistreaux in Wichita off Mays Road. For head coach Phil McClintock, I'm Pat Strathman saying so long from Walk On Sports Bistreaux. We'll see you again next week as we'll have our next edition of the Friends Basketball Show on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM.